When all else fails, well, you just got to have the faith. Today on the Five Squad, we're talking about our faith journey. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Five Squad podcast. For those that do not know us, my name is Evan Andrews.
I'm Haley Andrews.
And this is my lovely wife. I'm going to say it back to back every time. I do not care.
Because I'm lovely?
Because you are lovely, and I love you so much.
Well, I love that.
But this is my lovely wife, Haley Andrews. My name is Evan Andrews. And today, on this episode, I'm going to let my wife shine a little bit more because we're going to be talking about our faith journey. And if you don't already know, because you didn't watch the past 3 episodes, and we told you this already, we are coming live from our church. And we love our church.
We do.
Right?
We really do.
We really love our church. We love the people here. They let us use their stuff.
I know,
it's
really.
awesome. But they love us too, I think.
I think they do.
So, but yeah, we're going to talk about our faith journey and just kind of like how it was for us as kids and where we're at now with things. And
I will say this, like, I want to preface this episode with, we are Christian and we will talk kind of about our faith journey being centered around God. But when we talk about faith, I want everybody to realize that, you know, whether you believe in God or don't believe in God, you believe in something. And so when we may say, you know, something about God, we want you to input your own belief system, like, interchangeably with what we're saying. So, like, we totally understand
we respect anybody else's faith and what they believe in.
We're supposed to not interrupt each other.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're not supposed to interrupt each other, but
anyways,
it is what
so
it is.
I wanted to make sure that everybody knows, like, we truly respect whatever you believe.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
Growing up, what was it like? What was religion like for you as a kid and like all of that?
So I was born, baptized, and shortly raised Catholic.
Yikes.
And I love my grandmother and I love my family that are all Catholic, but for me, it was very difficult. There was not enough connection and way too many, like,
songs?
rules and things. No, not songs.
Whatever they do?
A lot of it, you know, in other languages, and there's just not a lot of, like...
It's like tones and sounds?
No, not just that, but there's, like, kneel down, stand up, do this many times, say this many times. It was just, for me at that age, because I had no routine, it was too much routine for me.
Yeah.
And not enough, like, I had no idea. I felt like I was reading Latin. So.
That's where it kind of came from, right?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, at 8, I didn't know I was not going to connect to that. But think about our kids, they're 8, and I feel like they have a way more firm foundation in faith than I did at 8.
Well, for me, we weren't really forced to go, nor did we really go to church. Fun fact, the church that we're in currently right now, this church has been here for a long time. It's gone through a lot of, like, revamping, and it's gotten bigger over the years.
Oh, yeah.
But this church has been around for a long time. And I came, I was probably 13 or so. We came to, like, one of the youth lock-in nights, which we know that Logan has one coming up soon. And, you know, I would go randomly to church.
Like with friends that came here?
If I would ever go back to visit family in Georgia while my grandmother was alive, like, we were going to church if it was a Sunday.
Right.
Like, but I had, like, a weird experience one time that I vividly remember listening to the message of what they were talking about. And this is mountainous backwoods country, Georgia.
We love our Georgia followers.
In a small little chapel on top of the hill that literally was probably made in, like, 1850. Like, been there for a long time.
So this is where your terrible memory came from.
Yeah, and it was just like the way that it all went down. I was like, man, I'm never coming back to a place like this.
So I think that's where faith as a foundation is very tricky of a subject, especially Christianity. But I was going to say, you were speaking about, you know, negativity, I guess, in terms of faith. And I think I also had a negative experience as a child until I found this summer camp that we didn't talk about it much, but our son Logan went to Laity Lodge Youth Camp. I also went to Laity Lodge Youth Camp as a child. That's where I think I first encountered my relationship with God as, like, a more, I guess, relationship. Yeah. Really, I mean, it was more fun and free, and there was music and friends, and that's where I really started to see like the difference in types of religions, I guess, because it wasn't like being Catholic. We had God in everything. You know, it wasn't just like pray when you eat and that's it.
I went to one of those with my cousin one summer. Ours was in LaGrange.
Oh, see, mine was in Leakey, Texas.
And I went with my cousin, and we stayed at her dad's side of the family, like her grandparents, which these people were strangers to me.
Oh.
Like I had no idea. And it was like a stay over, like 1 week whole thing. And like we didn't stay at the camp overnight. Like we would go back to their place and that's where we would sleep and everything. But I was so like, I'm in Strangerville.
Right.
Like I don't know any of these people. And I still kind of am a shy person and a very, very shy kid. And I was just like, this is the worst. I didn't care about summer camp.
Like I said, I'm the exact opposite. And I loved the ability to, number one, go away from my family because I had a difficult kind of upbringing. So I loved being able to go away, go somewhere really beautiful for 2 whole weeks. There was, obviously back then there was no phones, but you still to this day couldn't bring your phone if you wanted to. And I got to see other people my age, like, and going through similar things as me, worshiping and like seeing them change in their faith. That's something I think actually is what led us here today, if you wanted to go into how we got back into church, because I stopped going to church when I became a young adult, and we came to...
Yeah, so we actually, how we got back into church was after my father passed away in 2019. His girlfriend at the time was planning a
memorial service.
Yeah, a memorial service for him. And it was at this church. Apparently
in the room that we got married.
Apparently she, was somebody that came to this church, I guess as quite frequently as she could, or she maybe used to. I don't know. Bobby, we love you. But she had, put everything together, and that kind of got us here. And then that got us connected with the pastor that led the service.
So the service that they had at his dad's little memorial was, for me, it brought me directly back to that summer camp childhood faith that I desperately needed. And I remember at this time, we weren't married yet, but you were not fond. I mean, the idea of like going into a church was just not like your thing. So I actually reached out to the pastor at the time, Pastor Paul, we love you and we miss you. And I just said, look, I really want to get back into church, but I don't know how my husband's going to feel about it. And I decided I was going to go to church alone. I told Evan, I'm going to go to this church, the one where your dad's thing was, and I'm going to go by myself. And in true Evan fashion, he said...
Oh, I was like, you did not go by yourself.
No.
I came every single time.
He said from
There's even been times I've gone to church and she didn't go.
He said, you're not going alone. Like, I'm going to go. And it's funny because I think sometimes I still have that mentality about your faith. And it's so not true. I mean, he's come and we sit in the very front row, just so you guys know.
Because of me, I make her sit in the front row.
I love sitting in the front row.
I'm glad that you do.
In classes and all of that stuff. But so we sit in the front row and thinking about getting here then, I felt like I was like pulling him into his faith, but really like he really pulled me into mine too. I think that's like that bond going into our faith together has really strengthened our family's faith. I think
marriage as a whole.
Our marriage as a whole, totally. I mean,
I think a lot of people like do the thing where they like get married in a church and they don't go to church.
Right.
And it's like, why didn't you just go to Vegas, or why didn't you make a party of it, or whatever.
I think something that's really true for our marriage, our family, and pretty much anything is our faith really is the center of literally everything we do. I mean,
even if we don't realize it in the moment, like we reflect on it and it's like, oh yeah.
We do a lot of reflecting, both separately and together. And one of the main things that we both seem to come to terms with is, oh, that was God, or that was a God thing. Or when we're in a failure mentality. We try to look at our faith first, and we hope that you'll do the same, because there is a purpose for everyone, and there's a plan. And sometimes when you're at your darkest moment,
it all comes out, right?
No, but when you're in your darkest moment, if you don't see the light, he is the light.
And that's hard for people to see sometimes.
It's very hard for people to see a lot of times.
Yeah.
You mentioned in a previous episode, like, how do you get yourself out of a rut? Not everybody has something to find that light. And something for me, I think I try to do. I think a lot of people at my work will agree with what I'm about to say, but I like to try and be that light. My coworkers call me a ray of fucking sunshine. Obviously at school we beep it out. But I hope and try to be that, whether it's in our family, in the world, I mean, in my job, in my communications. I try really, really hard to be that light, because that light's within me. And I think we do that really well for each other too.
Yeah. And nobody out there leave a comment about how are you going to drop the F-bomb in church.
Sorry,
because
I just did.
This is something that I got from men's group here is, you know, we talked about praying, right? And like when you pray, like, what does it have to sound like? What does it have to be like?
Oh, this is a good topic.
Right?
I'm glad you're going here.
And the leader of the group at the time, whenever he was talking, he was just saying like I curse in my prayers. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I'll tell you this too. Like I didn't realize this until, I don't remember when, this was probably 6 weeks ago or so, like we were talking about this, but I've actually been praying since.
As long as you can remember.
Oh yeah.
You just
but
didn't.
I talked to myself.
But that was your prayers.
And that was it. And that's
But
when I
wanna
realized,
say something,
like,
I want to speak to what you're saying about saying the F-bomb in church. If you struggle with prayer, I have always struggled with prayer, specifically because there are so many beautiful prayer people. Holly Smith, the children's director in our church, I want to be her when I grow up. I want to pray like her, and I want to sound like her, and I think about that anytime I pray. But if you're like me, you feel like you need to, and I think you're saying you feel like you need to sound a certain way. You don't. You can
I know that I don't.
You can be angry at God, and he wants you to come to him so real, so raw, however you speak, because if you're not true to yourself and your sound and your voice and your feelings, then you're not truly giving him your worries, your cares, your fears. So if you cuss on a regular basis, he already knows that.
Yep.
He created that in you. You know what I'm saying? So
bring it all full circle.
And that's something about the faith that I wish people understood, that like, you don't have to be ready.
You don't have to be like
You don't have to be
Hollywood's
perfect.
version.
You don't have to wear a white dress. You don't have to. I remember our pastor, when we first started coming, he would say, look at how my children come into the church. Like, if you want to wear slippers, wear slippers. And that statement has stuck with me. How long have we been coming to church? 5 years, whatever.
Something like that.
Like, it stuck with me all that time, because I think about the stress of like going to church, like getting everybody church ready. Like, no, you want to wear mismatched shoes. You want to wear rain boots. Come as you are. Mm-hmm. And I think that statement has stayed in our faith, in who we are as a family of faith, because we are not perfect. Our family is crazy and chaotic and loud and all over the place. But
As
that's exactly how God created us to be, and that's what we're bringing to the world.
Yeah.
And to you guys. I mean, at least I think.
And I think we're doing okay.
I think we're doing more than okay.
I think we're doing great.
You know?
And would you believe
No, don't even.
that this is the end of the episode?
No.
We had like a whole bunch of other stuff planned that
We
we
really
didn't even go through it,
We
because
did not
we just nailed that one. So
we did
so
not
good.
even follow the plan at all. And I'm looking at it now, and honestly,
Because you
this
know why?
doesn't
Because
work.
God was like, I got it. I got you guys.
He's
and
like,
you
oh,
don't
that's
have to.
funny. You want to write the story? I already wrote it for you. That is so good.
It is good, right? I
love
look at, I
that.
scroll through it. I'm like, oh, we didn't do any of that.
I
We didn't do
know.
any of that. And
But I'm looking at it and it's like, that's not at all. I mean, yes, that's great topics, and I would love to talk on that. But this is us.
so much better. But,
This is us.
we want to thank everybody that has watched this episode. We ask that if you got some value out of this or resonate with anything that we've said today, that you like it. You got something to say?
I was just going to say, if you need prayer or need someone to talk to, or you have something going on, if there's any type of prayer requests that you would like us to be praying for you,
DM us on Instagram on those.
Definitely.
Instagram would be the best conversational place to
send
talk
us a
about
DM
those.
or just type prayer in the comments and we'll reach out to you, because
Yep.
you don't need to do anything alone.
For sure. But
Sorry to cut you off. I
No,
just
you're
wanted to
you're
say
totally
that.
okay. But yeah, if you guys like this episode, please make sure that you actually do that. Give us a like there on YouTube or wherever you found this podcast. Your feedback is welcomed with
Yes.
open arms, because it only makes us get better as podcasters. And we want to leave you the way that we have been leaving you for the past several weeks. And just to, remember that every day is a new chance to get it right and to keep pushing forward.
And stay inspired.
To stay inspired. I love how you finish my sentences.
Love y'all.